interest-informed strategy. It's often been called win-win, but put the winning thing out of your mind. We like to use the term optimal. It's all about optimizing rather than compromising, picking the best of available rather than picking what looked to be the option that everybody could somehow agree on that was somewhere in the middle of the Gobi Desert. So interests are needs that must be satisfied and values which must be preserved according to the people, okay, in the situation. There are needs that must be satisfied, values that must be preserved. So for example, they're the underlying stuff, and you're going to see that in another thing. It can be about self-esteem, it's about that good working relationship, it's about research excellence, it's about financial security or reputation. These are things that have to be reflected in the outcome to make it a good outcome. But they themselves are not the answer to the question. But they're what makes an answer a good answer. So this is the what I want. And what had us going back and forth is really rationale, right? Dueling rationales. And that ends up being the fuel for the train. Now, you had all of your reasons and rationale. I had all of my reasons and rationale. Lo and behold, some of them happen to be on both lists. But what they are is they actually are all of the interests that are being discussed about the question, right? They're all of the underlying interests that have to be reflected in the actual answer to make it a good answer. Now, you can spend a lot of time, if you want to, talking about what's mutual. But we don't spend a lot of time worrying about whether or not something is mutual, because what happens then is I spend all my time saying, you know it's your interest too, which is the wrong approach, right? Truth of the matter is, once we've listed them, they're all up there. It's good that some of them happen to be mutual. That's good that we can recognize that. We don't have to spend time busting each other up on whether or not it's in your interest too. Instead, they're all there. And look, we've combined them on the list. Okay? So now we're going to go back and we're going to look. We're going to go back to the vignette. And what we want you to do, is this where we hand out the sheet?
Right, this will do worksheets.
We have this handy-dandy worksheet. And we're going to have you fill these out, and we're going to have you working in groups.
So we're going to show this vignette, and then we'll have you, some people are just turn around and you can form up into little groups and you can talk about these things.
Scott, I think this is great. This is ready for publication.
That's great. I was just at the national conference, and the editor of the Western Journal of Quantum Quality said we could have that out by June.
The Western Journal of Quantum Quality? That would be a waste of a great article. Nothing from this lab has ever been printed in anything but a first-tier international journal.
Dr. Modi, those things take forever. I need it out now for my job search.
Not in that journal, not with my name on it, and not from this lab.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to quickly do a round robin and just figure out, okay, so let's figure out first, we'll ask you guys, who are the stakeholders here? Or are there multiple stakeholders?
We came up with 4.
Okay.
Scott, Bella, the lab, and the publisher of the Western
Journal of Quantum Quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another one.
Oh, we have other ones.
The funding agency who funded the research.
The funder who funded the research. Yeah. Any others?
Scott's family.
No.
Scott's family, yes. Any others?
The university.
University. You know, and what this ends up being, folks, is a concentric circle. Okay? There are really involved ones, and you know, it gets bigger and bigger as you go out. But let's define lab for a second. When you say the lab, what is the lab in this case? Who is a stakeholder in the lab?
Mostly Bella.
The lab is
Okay, so
the colleagues supervised by this professor.
it's not, you know, the question is, Scott's out there negotiating about a journal article that's going to have how many names on it? Right? So it could be a lot of other, there could be other PIs, there could be other graduate students. So there are a lot of people who, in a way, right, it's more than just the center, the epicenter, and it works kind of out from there. Okay? Now, let's go to what's the issue? Let's start here. Did you come up with an issue?
The issue, I think, is it's where to submit the paper.
Okay. So, everybody there? Is it where do we publish this paper? Right?
Yeah.
Now, is that what's motivating Scott? What's he all hopped up about?
He wants job search.
Okay, so he said it's all about my job search, right? So the publication has taken the place of what? For him, it's all about the job search, right? Where he gets employment is an interest, right? So you probably came up with multiple interests for the stakeholders. So let's go to Scott first. We'll go back to your group. Give me Scott's interests.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, publishing his work,
Okay, publishing the work. What else?
the timing of the publication,
Okay,
and his future job.
okay. So are there other interests that Scott has?
His self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Any others? Did we run out? Did we tap out on Scott right away? Are there interests that we think Scott might not even realize that he has? Or things that he's not raising?
He thinks the article is mainly his.
Okay, so there very well may be a sense of ownership, right? Control. What else?
Think about those decades of continuous relationship.
Maybe Bella will die. No, we don't. Maybe not, but his relationship with her is keeping that intact. Now, we know that she's a PI. What else does he have to worry about? She might be his what? She could be his dissertation advisor. Is he done? Right? So, maybe it's about whether or not Scott finishes. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff packed into this. Now, again, let's look at power and control, issues of self-esteem, issues of the job search, right? Are any one of those an answer to the question of where this gets published? No. But they all have to be reflected in the answer, to make it a good answer. You see how that works? So interests are the rationale. They're the underlying stuff that has to be met, or the answer will not be good. Okay? The answer will not be good. Okay, so I think that is, did we do option? No, totally not do it. We're going to talk about options now. Now, see, those are those interests. Now, how do you use interests you're about to see? Because they come over here. We've thrown out the railroad track. We have a question that needs an answer. We have what is going to make the answer good. And then over here, lo and behold, we come up with the answers. Okay? Now options are their choices, alternatives, or preferences which provide a complete or partial answer to an immediate question. I want to go here first. Complete or partial?